What is up, everybody? Hope you guys are doing amazing. This is Naz from Clever Programmer, and today I just want to speak to you. I want to talk to you about how I became a six-figure developer, how I became a full stack developer, how I came from Ukraine from with nothing, how my parents came from Ukraine with nothing, and how I learned, how I taught myself, and the things that I did to lead me to where I am right now, which is a six-figure developer, but also someone who also is a teacher now at this point. So just a little backstory behind me is, I'm from Ukraine. My parents, I'm from Ukraine, was born there. And I came here to America at the age of 9. We won a green card. We were very lucky to do that. And, we fully sold the business back in Ukraine that we had and fully just transferred here with literally nothing but $500 in our bank account where we just had cash. That's pretty much it. It was a scary time, we literally did not have much at all. My parents didn't know English. I didn't know English. The only thing I could talk was only thing I could say was pretty much, where's the bathroom? That's all I could say at that point. And honestly, that's it. But I saw potential. I saw a future. And, and I continued to learn. I continued to grow. My parents were struggling. My dad worked 18 hours a day at a car wash. My mom worked 15 hours a day cleaning houses. It was a hard time for all of us. And we literally lived at our friend's house in our small room because we couldn't get our own apartment. We didn't even have a car also as well. So that was back when I was 9 years old. I'm currently 25, and honestly, a lot has changed. At 25, I'm now a teacher. I get to teach thousands of students and coding, and my parents have a business, and it's been awesome. But how did we get to this? How did I, was able, not only learn English, but, make a career, go to college, and so forth, and actually land jobs and become a developer that I am now? Well, it all kind of started with high school, honestly. Back in high school, the hardest part for me was English, so I couldn't learn English initially. I don't know, I was kind of like learning a bunch of things, but the problem was that it just wasn't sinking in. I'm not sure why, but for some reason that was the case. And it wasn't until I think, 8th or ninth grade that I realized, holy shit, like I finally understand it. I remember literally 7th grade, I remember myself reading a chapter 3 to 4 times, but because it was not sinking in. And I had a test the next day, and I was just crying. My mom was beside me the whole time. She was trying to translate it with me together, but I had to have to reread the same thing over and over again because it just wasn't sinking in until I think 8th grade. Like I said, 8th or ninth grade, when things got a lot easier. Then high school started, and everything honestly changed. With that, I kind of understood English now. I could speak properly, and the biggest thing for me was that it was actually like, it was sinking in this time finally for some reason, right? And that high school was the first time that I actually started to actually good grades. Because in middle school I was getting C's, D's, and so forth, mainly because of my English. But then high school started and everything changed. And there was one class that honestly changed everything for me, and it was a web design class. And this web design class was where I got to build websites, and we were using Dreamweaver at that time, and it was a lot of fun. And I actually got really, really, really interested in something like this. I got really interested in building websites. Now, we were not using like crazy JavaScript or React.js or anything like that. We were just using very simple Dreamweaver with JavaScript and HTML and CSS. That's honestly pretty much it. And we were building pages by pages by pages. But honestly, I loved it. Like, I love the aspect of taking something that I had an idea about and put it into reality for many people to use. Imagine you had this idea, right? And now you have thousands of people using it. It's like Facebook. So many people are using it now because it came from an idea and you were able to develop it. That to me was probably one of the coolest things that I thought of. I thought of myself as an inventor, and I still do, right? And so it kind of started from there. I took that course just by chance. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna try and figure this out and see how it is, and I loved it. And my teacher as well, she was very, very inspirational too. Every single time we'll get into that class, she would always put on an inspirational quote or inspirational video to inspire us. And honestly, I have a lot to thank her. I don't really know. I forget her name, but I will find out at some point. But I have a lot to thank for her for what she has done to me, because she inspired me very, very much. She inspired me so much, actually, because literally I kept taking the exact same class over and over and over again, because that was the only class that was available, for the high school. And so I kept asking her, I'm like, listen, can I retake it again and again and again and again every single semester? And of course, she'd allow me. And it came to a point where I couldn't even register for the normal class, so I ended up basically just registering through actually coming to her. She had to sign a waiver, and then I had to go back to the principal's office, and then that's the only way they could put me in. But at that point, it was too late because all the seats were taken, right? And so what I end up having to do, which is really funny, is I end up having to actually have to learn in a closet. There was a small closet by the class, and that's where I learned, because all the seats were taken, because from the students that could actually register. But that didn't stop me. I was hungry. I wanted to learn. I found a lot of interest in this. And literally what happened is, I bought my own laptop. Actually, my parents bought me a laptop. It was my first laptop they bought me. It was a Sony something. I'm not remember for sure. But I bought my own laptop, and that's the laptop I brought in every single day. And I went to the closet, and I literally just worked there. And I didn't work on the projects that were usual projects for the class, but I actually was an assistant of the teacher at this point. I was actually just building projects from scratch at this point, right? And it kind of got started from there, honestly. It was really, really cool. And I started to fall in love with the art of creation, of creating an application, right? And one time, my senior year, my last year of high school, I decided, let's go out there with a bang. Let's do this, And so here's what I did. I didn't tell the teacher, but I ended up actually rebuilding the whole high school's website from scratch with a new design without even telling her. Yeah, I built this in about about a month it took me. And I brought it to her. I'm like, listen, teacher, check this out. Imagine this is a laptop. I'm like, look, check this out. Here's the website. And she was like, holy shit, right? She was surprised because I didn't tell her about it, but she loved it. She loved what I did. And guess what? This website came out to be, this went live. I ended up working with another student to make it fully functional, make it mobile friendly and everything. And this website was live for the whole high school, literally for 3 years straight. I'm not kidding. For 3 years straight, this was the website that was live on the high school. The high school is called Warrenmont High School. And I have everything to thank that teacher, the web design class, the reason to where I am today. Now, that was the start, right? That was the start of how things got started. Because of that design class, I realized that's what I wanted to do. That's what I love to do. And so I was like, you know what? That's where I'm going to get my college degree from. I worked really hard. I got good grades, and I got scholarships. And so I went to a university. I went to University of Michigan Dearborn. And it was a pretty good university. But the thing I realized, however, is that literally about, a quarter in or, my first semester in, I realized that I wasn't going to get what I wanted. Like real world experience, I wasn't going to get that from a university, unfortunately. So the first semester, I started searching for okay, what are some other opportunities out there? What can I do? Where can I find other opportunities, other experiences? I started building my own websites. I started building my own little blogs. I built my own blog called techhelp.org. It's not exist anymore. Don't worry. Don't even go on there. But, right, built this my own blog. And it was crazy, and I was building page by page using Dreamweaver, not even using some crazy PHP. It was literally just using Dreamweaver. And it wasn't even using a database. It wasn't until later on that I realized what a database is. And I can actually use a database, to populate data. But it all kind of get started from there. And then one time I went to Creative Computing Club, and this Creative Computing Club was very interesting. And I met these friends. They're called Robert and Steve. And I met them. I saw them doing something really cool. They're doing like an application. It was an application at the time called Trendala. And this application, the whole point was like to bring all these different websites. Now, like for example, Pandora, Amazon, Zara, Zappos, all these clothing stores, to bring them together into one application, right? Called Trendala. You swipe left to dislike, swipe right to like. It's as simple as that. You can actually search up on Google. You will see what it means. It doesn't exist anymore, so don't worry about it. And it was really cool. And I was like, holy shit, guys, can I help you out somehow? And again, I knew barely nothing. But I was like, listen, I was willing to work for free. And they're like, okay, I mean, sure, if you want to help out, sure. And so what they end up doing is they end up giving me like a small little project to do, which was to build a Python scraper. And, based on how I built it, they would actually, then I'll work with them. And then they told me to build a Python scraper. And then the first thing I did when I went home was I was literally like, what is Python? Like, what is Python? That's literally what I typed into Google. And then I'm like, okay, build a scraper in Python. That's the second thing I typed into Google, right? So, and I realized more and more as I learned, I realized you can build, a scraper, with beautiful soup and stuff like that. And so that's what I did. And so I literally stayed up for 2 nights straight, nonstop, no sleep whatsoever. I stayed up for 2 nights straight building a Python scraper using beautiful soup. And you know what? I did it. I built it. I sent it back to them. A day later, I get a response. They're like, bro, let's go. Let's do it. And so, yeah, I ended up kind of joining this group of people. It's Steve and Robert. They're amazing friends I still have. I still talk to them. And the thing is, the cool part is, and so I continued to work with them. And they were my mentors. They were the reason kind of like that gave me that jump start. And honestly, I am so thankful for them and for what they have done for me. Robert, one of the guys, he is a very technical guy, and he was building scrapers. Because one of the things that we had to do was we had to build a lot of scrapers, like, Amazon scraper, Zappos scraper, scrapers that will scrape a bunch of websites, then take data, and then that's what you would use. And he would mentor me. Like, he would always be there to, when I had to ask questions and so forth. And literally within 2 to 3 weeks, like I would go from not knowing anything to actually building my own scraper, Python scraper with Scrapey and Django. And we had a whole database, a MySQL database in the back end. We had our own server. It was insane. And I learned so much. Like, literally within a month, I just, like, my growth just skyrocketed. And it was all because of them, because of Robert, because of Steve. Steve, he taught me more on the business side of things, right? So he taught me more the project management because he's a great project manager, right? And I learned how to lead a team and so forth. And we got to a point where we had this application running. It was a Trendala application. It was so cool and everything. And, then we tried to market it. And, as developers, who we are, we're not the best marketers, unfortunately. So, I know some are. I'm not saying everybody, but some are just not the best marketers. We were not the best marketers, is what I'm trying to say. And so we went to this electric forest thing and we painted like 200 shirts. Like, we bought 200 shirts to market our application. And it was called, what was it called? Electric fashion. No, it was called forest fashion, like hashtag forest fashion, Then tag us for hashtag forest fashion and so forth. And like, thinking back, I'm like, what the hell were we thinking? But I literally have this picture of us literally outside the office where we worked, and we had 200 shirts that we bought, white shirts, and we stenciled out, this picture says Trendala and forest fashion, and we were just painting it. 200 shirts the whole day, nonstop. like I don't know, what were we thinking? I don't know, honestly, but we did it. And so, we did 200 shirts, and then we went to Electric Forest, and we got responses. One response. We got one person tagging us on Instagram with the hashtag forest fashion. And then tagged us on Instagram with the Trendala tag. I don't know anything. Like I said, like it's okay. But it was fun indeed. Then I end up basically what I'm doing is like we continue doing that. Then we we kind of switch to a different product. Then we end up working with someone else, like actually just like a contract to help them out. And the whole time also then I worked as a mentor for another group of people. Like it was capstone project people back in my old university. So at this point I was basically, only my sophomore year, but I was already teaching people who were finishing up college, which is insane. So I was leading a group of people finishing up college. And that kind of gave me a lot of knowledge on leadership. So that's the one point I want to bring up to you guys is, for anybody here who's kind of hearing my story and you guys are like maybe struggling, like how do I get started? Well, one way to get started is I want you to keep in mind that, working for free is not bad. Working for free is something you should not be scared of. Yes, I work for free. I worked for free for them for a whole year and a half. Like, I was just passionate. But I'll be honest with you, that year and a half was probably some of the funnest times I had in my life. I'll be fully honest with you. I didn't get paid, nor did I want to. I was very lucky to be living with my parents, so I didn't have to pay for things like, like housing. So I was very lucky on that side. But I just remember going to university, and then driving right back to the office and then just continuing to work. I had this passion. We all had this drive, this passion to just work and work and work. And we loved it. They loved it. We all loved it. We got together. We thought about how to make an ERD diagram. We thought about all these different things. And we even go to professors to get help. And it was awesome. It was so much fun. Every single day was a ride. It was like a roller coaster. And I had so much fun. And we built so much amazing, we built so much trust together. We built this amazing, this amazing environment together, thriving environment. Each person just cared about each other, and each person just pushed it to do better and better and better. And I still have to say, I thank them so much for where I am because my skills, were developed then. A lot of my skills were developed then. But then, of course, at that point, after about a year and a half, we all moved on. I decided to do something else, then they decided to do something else, and then we kind of moved on from that point on. Now, the cool part is because I already had the experience, I knew at this point how to approach companies, and I had some good experience behind my back. I had the proper mentors, and so I now know how to get into the world of, actually being paid at this point, right? And I started to apply for jobs. I literally a year and a half, I think at this point I was, junior year in college, and I started to apply for all these jobs. I applied for Google, Facebook, Twitter, and so forth, and I started doing all these interviews, and I got a lot of interviews actually. I got interviews with Google. They actually flew me down to California, which is really amazing. They flew me down all the way to California. The cool part, they pay for the whole trip, so it's like a free trip basically you get, which is awesome. So, but the coolest part was I was actually passing interviews. And they flew me down, and then I got a chance to actually be in an interview with them, and I got a chance to speak with a Googler while on the interview. Now, I will say though, interviews are not easy; they're hard. So good. They're really hard, actually. They're to a point of I had to learn algorithms and HackerRank, and LeetCode, and all these other ones nonstop. But I did, and I had interviews with Twitter. That was a lot of fun too. Palantir, that was really good. They actually flew me down as well, so I got 2 trips for free. But that's not the goal. Again, free is not the goal here. The goal was to get a job, right? Unfortunately, I did not get placed into those roles. I still got the chance to interview, and I was really, really close to being placed. And I even had an interview with Khan Academy. That was a lot of fun too, with Squarespace. For Khan Academy, I ended up having to create this GraphQL type structure, which is really cool. For Squarespace, I created this amazing. They had me create this. What's it called? What was the name of it? It was a machine learning algorithm that will predict, the winner of predict the winner of a senator or something in a state. I don't remember fully, but the winner of something based on data. And that's when I actually had to learn machine learning, like when they gave me that thing. So that was a lot of fun too. But the point is, I've gone through a lot of different experiences. I was never afraid to try different things. I was never afraid to challenge myself. I was never afraid to just go out there, just do and go and go and go. And I have a lot of things to thank my parents because they gave me that space to do it. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't pushed to, hey, Nas, you have to, go and work right now. Hey, Nas, you have to do this. I was given space to do that. And I was patient. I was very patient. And so that's what I want you to remember as well is, number one, like I said, don't be afraid to work for free. Number two is very important. Be patient, right? Developing is a hard job, right? Getting to coding is a hard thing. It takes time. It takes patience. But the cool thing is the reward is insane. The reward is one of the best rewards because now I get to code. I get to be creative every day. I get to have fun. To me, work is play, right? And on top of that, you get to make money. And on top of that, now personally for me, I get to teach. And that to me is everything. My mom was a teacher, and now I'm a teacher. Who knew? I told my mom, I'll never be a teacher. But guess what? Now I guess I am a teacher. So I guess it runs in the family. But besides that, right? Again, did all these interviews, and then finally I came back to Michigan, and I finally called up one of my friends, and I'm like, hey, bro, do you know any company that are hiring? And he actually he was like, hey, actually, my company is hiring, and the company is called Urban Science. And he actually gave my resume to the company, and he actually referred me. Now, that's another thing is referrals are key in this industry. He referred me, and guess what? I went to an interview. Within one day, I got the job. Got the job as an intern. And honestly, that was cool. That's the one thing you have to understand. This is why I make such a big difference is build a network around yourself, right? That's part 3 is build a network around yourself. Because, a lot of these companies, they work based on referrals. Even Google, they like referrals. When somebody refers them, that puts you way higher on the list of, for you to be hired. Same thing for Facebook and any other company. So build network, build referrals, build people around yourself. Right? That's kind of one thing I will tell you. But anyways, I got the job and I was with this company and honestly I was liking it. I was building things. Now I was building things with Microsoft. I wasn't doing like things with like Angular or AJS, which is what I wanted to do. But in either case, they gave me this project which is to put together data from all these different data sources, right? And it was like millions lines of code, millions lines of like database rows I had to put together data from. And I did. I had about 2 months to do it. I did it within about a month. So I actually made it shorter. And so the rest of the time, I was like, okay, well, what am I going to do now? And I actually decided to do something really cool. I decided to learn machine learning while on the job. I asked the manager if I can do that. And so he loved it. Like, he loved my enthusiasm for work and how much I worked. And he was like, yeah, sure, of course, just go do it. And I did. And so I learned, and so I took my first course. It was from Udacity. It was a free machine learning class from Udacity. I took that course, and I started learning about linear regression and naive Bayes algorithms and stuff like that. And I started to apply it, and I was like, holy shit! I built my first algorithm to do machine learning to predict something, and why not apply that now to this? And so I did. And then, so basically, on my free time, I just basically end up just working on this machine learning algorithm, and it predicted. You don't believe this? I predicted the amount of leads that they are going to have within the next few months. Right there. That was me. No, actually, no. I'm a really slow typer. My typing speed is more like. That's my typing speed. But and anyways, right? So that's kind of what happened. It was really really cool, and And when it came down to presentations, because it was an internship, so when all these interns were presenting, I had something different at the table. I presented like, okay, so here's what I did. I did this. But hold on, I also did this. And when I presented my machine learning algorithm, when I presented, how I trained 80%, I used 80% of that data to train, the rest 20% data to see my prediction results if are correct or not. They were like, holy shit, this guy went above and beyond. And guess what? Because of that, I ended up being asked later on to work with their machine learning team. Yeah. So I ended up actually having an interview with the machine learning team, and they created a role for me specifically because they didn't have a role open. They created a role for me specifically so that I can work with them. How cool is that? Yeah. So I ended up doing that. I ended up just kind of working with them, and I joined the machine learning team. And that was fun. I was working with people who were like senior developers, had master's degrees. They were building machine learning algorithms to predict, like to see if your signature is like fraudulent or not. They were building some epic stuff. And I was having so much fun. And I loved it. I honestly loved it. And then they offered me a job. Before I even finished college, I had a job offer for $60,000 without even degree, no degree whatsoever. But didn't stop there. So before I get going, that's the one thing I want to. I think part 4 I want to tell you is, if you want to get into development and you want to put yourself out there, take initiative. Take initiative. Do things outside the box. Don't just do what you're being asked to. Don't just do the standard thing, okay? Go outside. Be creative. Do things that are going to be really cool with you, right? Have fun. Take initiative. That is what differentiates someone who's going to go very far, which is someone who's going to go very linear. Okay? So that's my little tidbit for you. Take fucking challenges. Take action. And then things will be easier. Now, so what happened next? Well, basically, I got a job offer. But then before I was supposed to start basically in July. Before July, my friend Case, approached me and said, hey, bro, I got this cool company, called service.com. And, they're building this cool application. And they're looking for developers. And so he wanted me to go ahead and, maybe potentially, go for an interview. And I did. And I went for him like, okay, sure, why not? What's the worst? I already have a job. Why not go for another interview? That's fine. And I went for an interview, and I don't know. I just loved the startup environment. I loved the startup game. I loved creating things from scratch with an idea. I loved having a lot of impact, right? That to me was very interesting. Much more than just, working at a company. Again, nothing against that. That's just to me is what I loved, right? And so I did that. I ended up basically going for an interview. They gave me another project to do. I did the project. And what happened is within about a week, I got the job. But this time, they offered me $70,000. So not $60K, so they went to $70K now at this point. And you know what? I'll take it. Okay, I like it. $10K more, plus I love the job, of course. So yeah, I ended up telling the other company, unfortunately, that I was not able to continue with them. And so I ended up going with this company. And honestly, it was a lot of fun. It was so much fun. And I ended up just kind of, working with them and so forth. And we started working this idea. We started to really build this application called service.com. And we got this dashboard using AngularJS front end. And I was using Django as well because I knew Django. So I was a full stack developer there. And to me, it was so much fun. Like, we stay up late nights to work on stuff like this. And we would fix problems and stuff. I just know. I love that hustle of working in a startup company. To me, like this whole thing of wearing a lot of hats is always a lot of fun. And I remember those days. And it was, I had an amazing team. I was very thankful for them. And literally for about a year and a half, I was working with them. And really trying really hard. But the year and a half, I grew as so much. I grew as a leader of leading a team. I became really good at, project management. I became really good at, talking to business and talking to the developers, using diagrams and stuff like this. And I realized that I'm really good at explaining things. In the meantime, however, I was also building my Instagram. Yeah, I was building my Instagram and just because I wanted to share. I wanted to share my knowledge. I wanted to share, what I was doing. And I started to connect with a lot of people, connected with a lot of people in the business on Instagram, and I connected with Kazi, actually. Yeah, that somehow happened. And so that's another thing that comes to you is like, don't be afraid to put yourself out there, right? One of the biggest things that people will see is there are a lot of amazing people out there. So put yourself out there. LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, whatever it might be. Just create a connection, create a network. There are a lot of amazing people out there. I know social media might not be the best thing sometimes, but trust me, if it's good for the right reasons, it's a good thing to use. Exactly. So end up doing that basically, and a year and a half into it, I realized that I wanted to do something different. I realized I was like, you know what? I'm not happy at this job anymore. Unfortunately. I was stagnating. I was going up so many different times that at this point I was like, you know what? It doesn't feel right now at this point. And so I decided to quit. Went to my boss and went to the manager, went to the boss, and I was like, listen, sorry, I'm giving you my 2 weeks notice and so forth. And here's what he had to say. I laugh at this to this day. So listen up really quickly. He sat me down. He's like, listen, son, sit down. And I sat down, and he said to me, he's like, listen, I'm going to tell you this as a father, as an employer, as a financial advisor, and as a friend. You're fucking nuts, you're fucking nuts, you're fucking nuts, you're fucking nuts. Bleep this out if you have to, Kyle. So, and I was like, wait, what? So that was really funny. He's like, yeah, why would you leave? We're about to close this deal. It's going to go great. You're leaving at a time when things are good. And I was like, yeah, but I'm just not happy. I want to try something different. I'm a go-getter. I'm someone, when I have an idea in my mind I want to go for, I will go for it no matter what. Because I know the opportunity lies ahead if I try. If I don't try, then I might regret it later on. To me, the question I ask myself is always, what's the alternative? What's the alternative to me, trying something new? Well, the alternative is to keep doing the exact same thing I was doing before, to make the same amount of money, to continue stagnating, and so forth. And I was like, that's not an alternative I'm happy with. I don't want to do that. And so I quit. I was like, listen, sorry, that's my decision. And I did it. And he's still trying to take me back and so forth. And I really appreciate that. But, I ended up actually not doing it. And I ended up, because I was wanting to get into freelancing. So now I got into freelancing. But here's the coolest part. The coolest part is that because I was very valuable to the team, right? When I started freelancing, the day I quit the job and I had signed my signature saying that I'm out, that's it. They gave me a contract where they became my first client. So right away, after basically quitting, I right away had my first job, my first client, and it was them. So that was really cool. And this gave me the chance to work remotely, outside of them. And so that's what I did. And I was working really hard. I worked remotely and stuff like that. And so when I got more clients, and I'll be honest with you, freelancing is not easy. I'll be honest with you right from the get-go, guys. Freelancing is not an easy thing. If you think that you're going to be a millionaire as a freelancer within your next year, hell no. Unless you exactly know what you're doing. Unless you're in a really good business. But it was hard. I had to learn client management. I had to learn how to hire people. I had to learn how to sell. I had to learn how to go to conferences. It was probably one of the toughest years so far. I went from working literally 40 hours a week to working, 70 hours a week, 80 hours a week. And it was tiring. But I was growing. The coolest part to me is I was happy because I was growing. I was doing something that I was in control of. And then something happened. I went to a conference. Well, actually, before that, I actually met Kazi, and we got to do a live call because I was doing live call on Instagram at that point, at those times, and I got to do a live call with him. He interviewed me, and I got the chance to just be interviewed and to speak about my whole experience, as a developer. And I was like, holy shit, this is a cool gang. Yeah, they reached out to me. I don't remember we just started messaging together, but they're like an amazing gang. So I'm like, holy shit. So, and I actually meant to do my first video with them. My first video that I did for them was a video on I think building my to-do list in REPL.it using Django. I think that was the name of it or something like that. I forgot. But I make that video and I sent it to them, and that's what it's actually live on Clever Programmer. I think you probably find it. It's to-do list with Django. I think that's what it's called. And that was my first video with them. That's my first video in general, period, But I had a lot of fun. It was different than anything else. And so what happened is very simple at that point. What happened is that after that, I went to a conference in Las Vegas. It was called PubCon. And it's usually where I get my clients. Usually when I find a client and so forth, and that's when I learn things. And from the conference, I was supposed to go back to Michigan, but I decided not to. I decided to cancel my ticket. I decided to get a new ticket to go to California to meet these guys, to meet Kazi and the whole gang and the whole crew. And I remember this day, I arrived at the airport, again, this is out of spite, out of nowhere. I arrived at the airport, I'm like, hey, yo, Kazi, I'm in California, can I stay here, please? and he's like, yeah, sure. And so I ended up doing it. I stayed at his place, we met, I met, Frankie, then Aaron, and Kazi, of course. And holy shit, I think I was supposed to stay for 1 week in California. I ended up staying for a whole month. Got my own Airbnb. I know, and there was just something where I just loved being around this team. I loved thinking about content and teaching people, and and so forth. And I was working at the same time as a freelancer at the same time, but I was also helping them out just because it was fun. And then something happened. We're like, okay, so we did a lot of stuff. It was a lot of fun. I loved the team of people, but we weren't working there officially together at that point on. And then when I came back to Michigan, I get a call from Kazi, and Kazi says, bro, let's build a JavaScript course. And I'm like, bro, let's do it. Literally, within split seconds, I just agreed to it. Again, I'm just the kind of a person that just goes for what he wants. That takes big risks, especially at this age. I'm 25 right now. This is the best age to take risks. This is the best age to try different things, because I feel my parents always told me, you don't want to be, later on, in your life thinking that, oh, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I tried this. Especially when you have kids later on and so forth, and you're busy. You might not have the chance to try this. You still can, but you might not. This is easier right now. And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And so we started doing this stuff. We launched our course called Profit with JavaScript, okay? And then that came around, and that was successful and so forth. And then COVID hit. And I was like, I know I love working at this point. I love working with the team. I loved working on this course and building modules and stuff like this. And I started like this more than my freelancing gigs. And then so Kazi was like, bro, what can we do to get you in full time? And so I did. I went full time. And it was actually during COVID, when COVID hit, I think so. And so we went full time, and that's when like a lot of things changed. We started doing challenges. That was a lot of fun. We started doing, building up the course, build up this amazing community, right? Doing coaching calls, stuff like that. And it was so much fun. And I've realized how much I love teaching. And I realized just how much I was growing as a person. Like a lot. It was challenging, correct. But I fucking loved it. You know? So, and yeah. And so that's kind of the story of how kind of went through. And now circle back to this. Now we've done a lot more than that. We built a boot camp and some different other things. And now we're teaching. I get to teach thousands of people every single day. And I am excited for the future. I'm excited for the future where we get to teach hundreds of people, get to help so many developers become developers, or people become developers. And I can't wait for where we'll go next. But just to come back full circle now, you know, from somebody who came from Ukraine, didn't know any English, with parents who had only $500 in hand, to now someone who, gets to teach thousands of people around the world coding, and I get to help my parents out now with money. Yeah, to me that's cool. That's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy about that. And I can't wait for where it takes us next. So, that was get a little bit emotional there. Because I just know, because it takes a lot of hard work Sometimes you don't realize just how much work it takes, to where you are right now, unless you talk about it. So this is really good to actually talk about this. Because those days were hard. So, maybe hopefully you get take something away from this. Maybe a lesson or two. Maybe you inspire you to maybe do coding, because the opportunity is there. It's there. All you have to do is take the chance, take the leap. All you have to do is just try it. All you have to do is just put in time and effort, right? I want you to be open-minded. If you're closed-minded, that's not gonna get you to where you want. But if you're an open-minded person, you try different things, you put yourself out there, you connect with people, you're not afraid to take action. Amazing things happen. So I'll end it on there. I want to know, what did you learn from this? What did you learn from this? And what did you learn from this video? Leave me down in the comments below. I'm going to read all of them. Okay, I'm very curious. Did you learn the fact that you want to become a developer? Did you learn the fact that you need some patience? Did you learn the fact that, you need to actually take action to maybe invest in yourself, or maybe you need to maybe try it out and actually put more time into it? What'd you learn? I want to know, and I'll respond to you. Okay? Let me know in the comments below what you are going to do now and what now excites you. And if this is a story that relates to you, let me know as well. Okay? And that's it. So look, at this point, thank you so much for listening. I hope you have an amazing day, and I'll see you in the next video. Adios.